We are the Church of the Larger Fellowship, the Unitarian Universalist congregation with no geographical boundaries. We believe in cultivating curiosity and transformation that is rooted in profound love.
For over 85 years, the ministries of the Church of the Larger Fellowship have circled the globe and crossed the walls of prisons. We are a spiritual lifeline for our over 2,000 members in prison, who are also connected to individual Unitarian Universalists through our letter writing ministry.
In our online community, we offer weekly worship, classes, and groups. Our monthly magazine, Quest, supports the spiritual lives of thousands around the globe. We know better than anyone how deep and meaningful connections can be formed even from a distance.
We are proud to be a leader in this faith movement, and we invite you to get involved in our ministry. We strive to be a place where anyone from anywhere can find spiritual refuge anytime they need it. Welcome to the Church of the Larger Fellowship.
We are so excited to bring you an all-new episode of the Voices of Unitarian Universalism, known affectionately as The View.
The View is a weekly Unitarian Universalist talk show discussing important faith-based topics from an anti-racist, anti-oppressive, and multicultural perspective.
Since 2013, we have gathered every Thursday from September to June to welcome guests from around the world.
Our guests are writers, scholars, activists, and religious thought leaders who are shaping Unitarian Universalism and society for the 21st century and beyond.
We hope that today's show inspires you. We hope it builds your faith and gives you perspective to see the power of Unitarian Universalism at work in your life.
Welcome to The View. Hello, welcome to Voices of Unitarian Universalism. My name is Aisha Hauser. I have the absolute honor and privilege of being one half of the lead ministry team of the Church of the Larger Fellowship. The reason for this season, we have been on air for, 15 years, 20 years, 700 years, I don't know. And Reverend Dr. Michael Tino is not with us today. They are on vacation, hopefully relaxing and getting a lot of naps. I am wearing my Abolish Prison shirt and my keffiyeh, and I come to you from the land of the Coast Salish people, also known as Seattle, Washington. Dante, how are you? Where are you? And today we're going to talk about accountability. We got a juicy combo for us today. Can't wait.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, however you are, whenever you are. I am the Reverend Dante Hilliard. I am here in the land of the Council of Three Fires, which includes the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi, also known as Chicago, Illinois, United States. And, we're having a heat wave. It's been in the 40s.
Right.
So, they're like, woo, it's summertime. So that's been great. Some of you know I am actively dissertating to graduate in May, so that's occupying a lot of my time. And trying to figure out what's for my life beyond graduation, because guess what? I have no idea. Yay! DC, what's going on?
Oh, hey, everybody. I'm Reverend DC Fortune. I am here in Auburn, Maine, where we are also having a heat wave. It's up around 40. I managed to chip all of the accumulated ice out of my driveway this past week. It was very exciting. And in true Maine fashion, this is the season of seed catalogs.
Oh, right.
Seed catalogs and dreaming about the garden that I am not nearly that ambitious to actually put together. But Auburn, Maine is on the banks of the Androscoggin River, so named for the original inhabitants of this part of the world. And yeah, I'm doing all right. I got a flat tire, but if that's the worst that happens to me today, I'm good.
Excellent. Yeah, hopefully that'll be it. So we chose this topic last week we are talking about accountability. And I woke up this morning to the news that a member of the UK royal family was arrested.
Ooh.
As probably, my guess is one of the first high profile arrests as a result of the Epstein files being released. Now, it's not the first arrest, because I heard that one of the pilots who flew people
Right.
to the island was arrested, but this is, I think, the most high profile arrest. And so
Prince Andrew,
Andrew, who that family fucking knew for decades what that man was up to or what he was doing.
I remember growing up, they used to call him Randy Andy.
Ugh.
Remember that?
I mean, yeah, I will say, as a child, I was 10 or 12 when Diana and Charles got married, and that was like, I was an immigrant kid. I remember staying up at whatever time it was in the morning watching it. But other than that, that was where my interest in the royal family began and end. But the bigger question is, what does accountability look like? I mean, this is a high profile case. These files are heinous.
Yep.
I was saying to Dante before we came on, is the unsettling feeling of, we keep learning more and more about how just tremendously horrific what was done with no consequences, it feels like. But this feels like the first one. So what does accountability look like?
And I want to remind folks that there's not a thing that anybody in those files is accused of that the founding fathers of this country did not do to my ancestors.
Say that.
Yep. Amen to that. Truth.
So we're going to talk about accountability. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've never had reparations, and but reparations is not just about money.
No.
Right? It's about telling the truth and repairing a deeply broken system that had value to who was worthy and who wasn't. And that's the system we still have right now.
Right. Just for what it's worth, the former president, prime minister, whatever he was, of Korea, just got a life sentence.
For Epstein?
No, for trying to foment an insurrection.
Oh, God. Oh, wow. I didn't.
Right. So, it's possible, kids. It's possible. If, yeah.
So before we came on the air, y'all, I was telling Aisha and DC that, again, as a descendant of people who were literally kidnapped, trafficked across the ocean, and imprisoned, in a strange land, the concept of universal salvation is kind of prickly, because the way people talk about it seems to be like a just get out of jail free pass, or it just feels like a helmet, like, you can just do all the heinous things you want, but depending on tradition, you say Jesus forgive me, or you make a confession or whatever, and bam bam jam, and then it's all wiped away and you're okay. And that doesn't feel like justice. So I was like, do we believe in universal salvation, or do we believe in universal accountability? And then DC was like, well, it's both. And I was like, can you revisit that, DC? Because that was very helpful, framing for me. Sure.
I believe in, and I will use language like God, just because it's simpler than or however you describe this entity thing, right? Okay, so if there is a God, I believe that God is all powerful, all loving, has capacity to forgive all sins, sort of in the description of Hosea Ballou, right? There's all loving, all powerful God. And I believe that God is the one that can offer universal salvation and provides that. And we are not God. So our job in this earthly realm is to have accountability for behavior. Like, God can forgive you when you get there, but right now you're here and you got to pay for this shit. Okay? Right? Like, What happens after you die? Ain't none of us can have anything to say about it, right?
All we got is theories.
Right. All we have is theories, and it might be cathartic for us to think that you were going to roast in fire in the perpetual weenie roast of whatever. But if I believe in universal salvation, I believe that there is a God that has a capacity to forgive even the worst of the worst. Right. There is no, in Hosea Ballou described it, there is no sin that a finite human can do that is beyond the capacity of an infinite God to forgive and offer grace and salvation. And we are not that infinite God. You know, when in Rome, do like Romans, pay to Caesar what you owe Caesar. Okay? Which means while you're here, you got to pay your bills. And you should be held accountable in this lifetime for the stuff you're doing in this lifetime. How we develop systems to get that accountability is deeply flawed and not terribly well working, but that's how I understand it.
But we know, based on the globalized extractive capitalism that rules this planet, many people will die with no accountability for their behavior here.
I know.
So what does that mean?
Well, we yes, and punishment is not accountability. It's just punishment. It doesn't change and shift society. Like, I'm wearing a shirt that says abolish prisons, and right now, most of the planet, the accountability structure is prison. Right. We lock someone up and somehow we think there's accountability, but we still have in place the structures that people with wealth and power do not go to prison, rarely go to prison. So we already do not have, justice is in the hands of the oppressor. The oppressor gets to decide. I was just telling Dante, I'm in the land of recreational weed. I take gummies to help me go to sleep. There was a time where that would have put me in jail. And there are people in jail right now, mostly black and brown, for weed offenses, right? So there's something perverse about changing that. So I think I'm gonna show Leilani's. Hi, Leilani. I read a great book about an alternative definition of biblical forgiveness that was life-changing for me. Matthew, I am not gonna be able to spell that say the middle name, Ishihashi Potts. He holds the great harm and a great intersectional lens. So that'll be interesting to read. Yes, most folks do conflate punishment as accountability. But I think the question for me is, I've never believed in hell. It never quite made sense to me, the idea of eternal anything. But I think accountability in where we are right now must include changing the structures that we have, right? Like this whole system is working as it's designed. It's not broken. It's working as it's designed, but now it's just impacting white people. So in a much larger scale than it has been, right? And so the question I ask myself is, how do I not hold on to my own healing rather than wanting some kind of retribution or maybe because are we talking about accountability or retribution? I ask myself that question. How do I lean into healing instead of wanting a thing to happen to the people who hurt me, like who betrayed me, who were like fundamental betrayal? And I don't have a good answer for that.
But also, I wonder about, are we really having the nuanced conversation about, well, accountability is not punishment, but punishment is actually only one form of consequence. Like, because I do believe that behaviors, actions should have consequences. Like, that's physics.
Right.
Action has consequences. Punishment is one kind of consequence, right?
You're on stick your hand in there, it gets bit. Right.
You can't go to the dance. You're grounded. Like, it's a type of consequence. And again, grounding a child and putting someone in prison, not the same. You know, like they're different type. There's also different types of punishments, right? So how do we get to what are acceptable? Because I think what we're saying is that the prison industrial complex, as we understand it, is an unjust form of consequence because only certain people really get to experience it. Because I've always said, like, again, even if like, if we could figure out how to abolish prisons, great. I'm here all for it. But I also would understand a society that's very clear about its rules. This is our covenant. If you break the covenant, here are the consequences for breaking covenant, and here are the rules for coming back into covenant, after you broke. Like, I can understand that, but the system that we have is and maybe all the systems have always been sideways, right? They've always been, some people experience that punishment and other people get away with whatever they want to do.
They uphold oppression. It's not even about accountability. It's just about upholding oppression. Right. It is about social control. It's not about, that's the thing for me is we have a system that upholds violent extractive capitalism through control, not even through care. It's why we don't have universal basic income or universal health care here in the United States, or guaranteed housing. And so the carceral system, which is for profit, which is a cancer on our collective fucking souls, because what the hell?
1216 Asia.
Also, these ICE has been given like an astronomical budget. They're trying to buy warehouses in red states, and can I tell you, the people in those towns are like, abso-fucking-lutely not. Yep. So the people in red state towns who have these literal warehouses that they want to put people in are like, nope. So this is going to be an interesting next couple of years to see, like, the people in power right now are not reading the room. But anyway, that's an aside. Well, it's exactly the thing. We have a system based on control, and it is through brutal violence. You cannot control people. You can only oppress them through violence, because controlling people is not a thing. But that's what these systems keep trying to do. And it's all tied to under the guise of accountability.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, I believe in universal value. I believe in universal worthiness. I believe in universal dignity. I believe that all of creation is worthy and valuable and beautiful, and it has a purpose. It has a function. We may not fully understand it beyond our sort of limited understanding of things, but again, the more we learn, the more we understand everything is interconnected, from the quantum level to the level of galaxies and beyond. So I do believe in universal worthiness. That's not a hard leap. But
that's interesting.
I think about, as progressive religious folks, and as a Black person who comes out of Black Christian traditions, I'm doing my writing, and I was just writing about, there's a singer, her name is Callie Day. If you've never heard this woman sing, get thee to YouTube. and I suggest you look up her live performance of a song called Hear My Prayer. It's a live performance. She's in a church. She's on a purple gown.
What's her name again?
Callie, Callie Day. One of the greatest vocalists of our time. Beautiful. And one of her famous songs is a standard called Hear My Prayer. And just song is, she sings it so beautifully. And I just always feel like I'm in the presence of the ancestors when I listen to her sing this song. But it's a song about a person who's like, I'm about to be up out of here. Lord, hear my prayer. This is your servant. Prepare my way. Have mercy upon me as I, exit this plane and come above. Right? And from a progressive religious standpoint, I have had people like, well, like, how can you be into a song that's all about, Black people not only finding rest and justice, when they after death. And I said, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with globalized extractive capitalism that has extracted value and limited the fullness of people for hundreds of years. Right? And I have a problem with the fact that race, no matter what your accolades, accomplishments, or anything, is still a chief determiner of your life outcomes. These are things that I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with oppressed people imagining, because for me, when I hear those kind of songs, and it's a theme in gospel music, what it tells me is that my ancestors have always been clear. Empire doesn't have the last word, even if it's not in this plane. But you don't get to make the final decision. You might have the power here,
right?
But you don't have the ultimate power. And so if I don't get it here, I'm gonna get it there. And my other favorite spiritual was the song "I Got Shoes," where and y'all know this, like, slave owners used to have black folks basically form a choir and entertain the community. And one of the songs they used to sing was called I Got Shoes. I got shoes, you got shoes, all God children got shoes. When we get to heaven, we're going to sing and shout, going to march all over God's country, da, da, da. But then there's a line that says, everybody talking about heaven ain't going. Heaven, like they're singing to their oppressor. Everybody talking about heaven ain't going. Heaven. So they're actually being really clear.
Subversive,
that values justice. Y'all think that's where you going? But you are oppressing me and got me here singing spirituals to you. I just think that there's a kind of nuance to these conversations that we never really get into, the contextualness of what these things really mean based on the world we actually live in.
I also want to bring in Leilani's observation that ICE isn't masking because they don't want consequences for their violence and cruelty. I think it's multi-layered. They're not masking. I do think they don't want consequences. I also think it is not socially acceptable to be a fucking ICE agent. There are some people who are cheering this shit on, but it is not the majority. I think some poll numbers I've heard are over 60-70% who are not. So there's also, and that's what we need to do, right? Like, is be clear that this is not, we don't want a society that terrorizes people. Now, this is very much chickens coming home to roost because this country has terrorized Black and brown people and the world with our 800 military bases all over the planet. And so now we are in the belly of the beast, those of us who live in the United States, and it is on us to change it. No one's coming to save us. We have to do this. So in Washington State, they are working to pass a law to prohibit masks on any law enforcement.
But we also need to remember that masking is also a part of the ritual of terror.
Oof.
People mask, the Klan mask. You mask because I don't know if the person who attacked me is also the person I got to do business with tomorrow.
So is that also shame, Dante? Do these folks know this isn't just a matter of not having a soul? I think it's a matter of what is socially acceptable. No,
I think that's about, I'm here to do you unspeakable harm. And then tomorrow you're going to wander around town wondering who the hell that was.
Oh, oof.
Who the hell was it that did that to
me? I don't want to meet you on the alley by myself.
Right. There's that part of it, but there's also, oh geez, who did this to me? Can I look at their shoes? Can I see do I recognize their shoes? Do I recognize their voice? Do I recognize?
Wow.
Yeah. Part of the terror post enslavement is anonymity.
Think about that woman in France whose husband drugged her, and all of the men that assaulted her, and And the terror for her was walking around not knowing who had done what to her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
got to carry that.
Yeah.
It's so like, because all of this, even what ICE is doing, this is a modern version. These are terrorism tactics.
Yeah.
They are meant to leave you terrified.
Right.
So I'm masked. We come in masked. We show up aggressive. Like, it's meant to traumatize people and sort of coerce people into freezing trauma responses.
Well, that's why we say joy is an act of resistance. Not leaning into that terror and not staying in that terror is a way, literally is a way to fight what's happening right now, because they want the populace terrified. And that's what we need to try to resist against as much as possible, because it is traumatizing what's happening in Minneapolis, what's happening in Maine, what's happening. We get word here in Seattle and north of Seattle on the coast of organizers are getting disappeared, especially immigrant rights organizers. So the terror is there, and we still keep fighting, because what's the alternative? Because we can't wait for accountability. I will say something that maybe is a little pessimistic. I'm not necessarily convinced that these ICE agents are ever going to see accountability. Most Nazi officers did not see accountability. They moved to Argentina or fucking Brazil or wherever. Like, they didn't, most of them did not. Some of them were hired by the federal government.
Yep.
Google that.
Yep.
So that was a
Brown.
fun day to fucking learn that shit. So I'm not convinced that there will be the accountability that I think. I don't know that there will be, but I'm not as concerned with that as I am with advocating for the things that will. Okay, what I want to do, or part of my mission in life, is to advocate for a society where there aren't people who even want to sign up for ICE, who don't want to terrorize Black and brown people, and people who are connected, who are taken care of and feel like they are in a community of care, don't have to fight for resources and believe the bullshit that it is, an immigrant's fault that you don't have housing and healthcare instead of the people in power. That's what abolition means to me, is an imagination of creating a society that centers care, not control and oppression.
Well, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna get it for this. For me, I want to abolish economic and resource stratification, because if we didn't have this economic and resource stratification,
that's right.
Most of the shit that is a problem would go away.
That's right. That's because it's all about resource.
If everyone was housing secure and food secure, had access to fresh air and clean water,
and plumbing,
care, service, like because there are enough resources on this planet. We are not that short of. There are enough resources for all of us on this planet.
Yep.
So, if we just got rid of all the stratification, there would be no need for. But people would have to give up their hoarding of power and resources, and they don't want to.
And here's this. I'm gonna come with me on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about this hoarding of resources by the billionaires, they are trying to fill a hole in their soul. They may not say this, and short of being a sociopath, we're going to take them out of the equation who have like deep psychological disorders, right? But the folks who know what they're doing, I think, I wonder, this is a wondering because I'm not a billionaire, but I wonder if part of this insatiable greed that doesn't end by the 0.001% is them trying to get something that they have now given up, because they've given up their connection to humanity for things that aren't real, for hordes of money that are numbers on a piece of paper. That's what they are. Power, yes, military power, oppressing others, but does that fill the soul, the soul's yearning for true connection with another human? I mean, that's what I mean. Does that make sense?
I also think about it as sort of addictive behavior. You get that hit, and then
And
you need
want
more, and you need
Yeah.
more, because you're never gonna get that feeling back. So you're now chasing it, right? So it's a type of behavior that only some people can afford to engage in this world, right?
And
again,
I think the two are not that different.
Right.
Having lived in addiction and then in recovery, I can say that a lot of us who were addicted to things took whatever it was that was our drug of choice in order to feel whole, in order to feel human, in order to feel complete, right? Or in order to not feel the pain that
or
is
to avoid, yeah,
right, to escape, to and if you've got a little hit and oh my God, that felt wonderful,
Right.
I want that, and of course that's the cycle that it never is enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the trick to getting out of addiction is to learn how to have and be enough
Right.
without the substance.
Like I wonder, are these people who do not actually feel universally valuable? These are people with high levels of insecurity.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
like cops.
High
Just like
levels
cops.
Yeah, like, but I also want to come at this point around the ICE agents when I was talking about the extractive capitalism, but and we need to be really clear with each other. How many jobs are available to anybody in this country, particularly without a college degree, that you can get with very little training for $50,000 a year,
Because we shipped all our
$100,000,
manufacturing overseas.
right? So somebody's going to take those jobs, because where else can you make that kind of money in this system with little to no training and education?
And the person that's going to take that job comes in wired and angry.
This is how we build our military. Isn't it the same way we build the military?
They're also advertising on the right-wing channels where so they're targeting.
I saw an ad when I was watching the Olympics the other day, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah. The Olympics.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So
but you're absolutely right.
Like, this is bad, and I understand why people in this country, given our economic system, somebody will take those jobs at those salaries as long as they're available, because there are so many limited options.
Yeah.
So again, if we actually had a baseline of care, that everyone had their basics covered,
that's right,
there would be less of a need for a whole bunch of this stuff. So that's like, is it the abolishment of one type of punishment that is cruel and unusual, or is it we really just need to abolish the stratification of resources? Oh, but I know it. But then now they're gonna call me a S word. They're gonna call me a socialist.
I'm a proud socialist, friend.
Oh God, yes.
Proud socialist.
Yes,
I believe in taking care of society unapologetically. When people would say to me, "Well, blah blah, that's a handout," I said, "What's wrong with handouts? Why do only trust fund babies get handouts? The royal family are one big lineage of trust fund babies. They don't fucking work. So why should they get handouts?"
And if handouts are bad, why do you do charitable work?
Okay, but
to assuage your own guilty conscience for being a hog about this stuff.
But my thing is, okay, let's say that everyone, based on the country you live in, you get a portion of national GDP based on how you contribute. Because black people would make a nice little cute coin off of that. Like, so even if that's not because we contribute. Who is it? It's not Canada. There is a country where people get, or is it Alaska, where people get a percentage of GDP
They get the oil. They get some money from oil, but the oil countries do that. Emirates, Qatar,
Right.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So the people who invest the most in developing this country are the ones who get the least back.
Least.
Mm-hmm.
And then we make a definition of what work hard means. I'm like, nobody wearing a suit going to a building in Manhattan's working hard. Darby made the point that the basics in society aren't covered, so they could recruit the folks who join the forces, whether it's military, ICE, police.
Mm-hmm.
It is to subjugate Black, brown, and poor people, and to protect the ruling class. That really hasn't changed. That has not been different. I mean, people have said ICE is more akin to slave catchers than the Gestapo.
The world is governed by something that is not real.
Ooh,
money.
Say that money's
not real.
It's not real. It's made up, and we kill
not
people over it.
Real. It's an idea.
It's an idea.
Right. Long before Bitcoin, money was not real.
Right. It is the value that we have assigned to a particular piece of paper.
Right.
We.
And there's how many countries that it's different. So that piece of paper changes, and then there's some formula. This paper value is more than. And listen, if Bitcoin didn't prove how money's fucking, they just made up another form of money. Literally, like, okay, I'm like, see, it's made up. So is the money we at any point in time. Humanity used shells at one point, or used whatever, like.
Yeah. Made up or not, I still got to buy groceries.
Well, yes. And there's the control part.
Yes.
Because it's made up in service to control and subjugation. Yes. So you get to eat if you have enough of these pieces of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. And it's all part of the control. So if we centered care, everyone will always have access to. That is what also Minneapolis is teaching us. The mutual aid networks, the food that is being collected and distributed and delivered to make sure everyone is taken care of. Huge.
I spoke in a college class on Tuesday this week, and we were talking about the role that religion has played through the history when it comes to identity and gender and all kinds of things, right? And these college kids, when they, a minister's coming to class, they were like, uh-oh. Right. And what I said was, all of the laws in the scriptures are about crowd control. They're about crowd control, and they're about survival. They are absolutely brutal laws designed for one purpose, and that is survival of that particular group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All of your kosher laws are about, like, if we do this thing, we get sick and die. We don't understand it, so we're going to say it. It's from God, and we can't do it. Right. And if you control how a people eat and how a people have sex, you control a people.
Ooh.
Right? If you control how and what they eat and how and with whom they can have sex, you have controlled the population.
Oppressed. I mean, I think one of the things that oppression has taught us through the years, or at least the attempt at control of people, is there's no such thing as truly controlling another. You can oppress them through violence. You can try to terrorize them, right? But we cannot control others. I think that's the fallacy of people in power live with the delusion that they're going to control people. That's what the U.S. government's trying to do now, right?
Well,
what they're doing is oppressing. What?
Well, I'm going to push back on that a bit, because the control comes in when I have to swim in the water of oppression.
The control comes when I have to swim in the water of oppression.
We swim in the water of oppression, which means I'm surrounded by it, and I need it to exist. right? So that we pull it, it gets integrated into us. I have to work to extract anti-blackness out of myself because I've been socialized in the waters of anti-blackness and capitalism and heteronormativity and patriarchy and ableism. So the control is psychological. And some may even say spiritual. Is when I just wrote about this. I spent my entire adult life not being. I've known I've supposed to be in ministry since I was a child, and I am just now over 50 becoming a religious professional because I, being black and gay in the 90s and Pentecostal, I was like, the only way I know how to do this is lie, and I don't want to lie. So I spent my entire adult life trying to find an alternative path of using my gifts and my callings. Now, but what I just realized also is that the insidiousness of oppression is I spent that time, my adult life till 50, doing other things other than ministry because I also had not unlearned enough inside of myself to be able to envision a world where I could bring my whole self to ministry. Because there are other queer people who've been in ministry since the 90s. But I had not unlearned enough to be able to imagine a world where I could be in ministry as my full self until I was in my 50s.
Yes, I hear you. And I think there is an element of when we have internalized oppressive thinking, is that being controlled? I guess maybe it's a matter of semantics. Like maybe, because I think what's at play is oppression through violent means, right?
Yes.
And keep it, and not having social services as violence. Keeping people in poverty.
Well, I will say that internalization of oppression is a form of violence. Like it doesn't happen nice and fun.
Right.
It is coerced upon us.
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't feel like coercion because it happens in the context of our families, in the context of our religious institutions, in the context of our.
I'm only doing this because I love you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And sometimes people really mean that. Like it's.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, like they think they're doing a good thing. So that's what makes it all so insidious. That you have to really deconstruct your world, which is probably the most scariest thing a human can do.
Well, and I think that's where spiritual communities can come in, places like Unitarian Universalism. Leilani writes, how do we fight the class war that 10 richest men in the world are waging against us? I feel the massive wealth redistribution we're seeing right now needs to be continually lifted up. Honestly, I think the way we fight it is to lean into mutual and community care. I think we need to expand. I think a lot of Asia Marie Brown and her sister Autumn Brown, they have a amazing podcast called How to Survive the End of the World. And there are many others, but that's the one I'm listening to now, is expanding our imaginations for what the world can be, already is in some places. And I think going head to head with the war machine is not going to, I think we need to be subversive and creative and imaginative, which is what I think is happening. I think it's happening, which is why they wanted to destroy TikTok, because the world would not have taken on the cause of the Palestinian people if it wasn't a live stream genocide. And you cannot, deny what you're seeing, except, people are trying, but the humanity, more and more people, not enough, not the people in power, but more and more people to each other are humanizing each other. And so the genocide in Palestine, Congo, Sudan, becomes unbearable, right? The genocide here, unbearable. So we're fighting against it, and it's leaning into that in creative and imaginative ways.
But I also, what I pull from Adrienne Marie Brown's work, particularly her emergent strategy book and the series, is that her fundamental belief is that the universe is fractal in nature.
Right.
Which means that what happens at the small scale echoes and reverberates up mathematically at the large scale.
Right.
So what does that say about our systems at the small scale?
So what she's saying is small is all. So if you accept that the universe is fractal, perhaps this notion of trying to do all of this macro transformation and using all of our energy and resources is kind of wrong-headed. What if we focus on the small, where we are, wherever that means, you as an individual, your family, your home, your neighborhood, your community, your church, your school. Like if we all do the things that we think ought to happen ourselves at the small scale, there will be reverberation. So the way that I explained it to someone, actually I think I wrote a paper about this, is, so like abolition was a thing for the CLF, right? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily for the entire UUA, but it was a thing for the CLF. But because the CLF has kept investing in abolition, this year, abolition became a thing for our entire tradition. Right, like the CSAI, like I mean, it's reverberated up. Now where it goes beyond that, we're not sure, but it now has a national or global profile in our movement that it may not have had before. It did not have before, so that which creates opportunity for that work to continue to expand across our tradition, not just in the CLF. Just as that's like just a micro example of what I think what she means when she's talking about this sort of fractal. You invest.
And she also says the health of the cell is the health of the organism. Mm-hmm. And if each of us is part of that cell, and it's some of the Buddhist philosophy as well, end your own suffering to help end the suffering in the world, right? Which, is layered. But I think that's part of that same, what you're saying as well. Leilani says, I personally feel like I'm both getting to know my community neighbors and prepping for further collapse. I can't even envision accountability in our current system culture. That is fair, Leilani. That's fair. It's hard. And I think it's part of building the boat while we're rowing it in the water, if that is even
while it's on fire.
Well, and I want to come. See, and this is why.
And there's lightning coming.
This is why I want to come back to faith communities and worship, because that's where we get to practice.
Say more.
Where are we going to develop the skills that we need for abolition and justice and large-scale social transformation outside of work? Worship is one of the few places where we gather regularly enough across many, many traditions where we can, whether we say it that way or not, what we're doing is practicing our values, practicing our belief system, conjuring the world that we want to see. That's what worship is. It's a ritual.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a ritual of, hey, as above, depending on tradition, as above, so below, as in heaven on earth, a new heaven, a new earth. Like we are calling in the thing we want, the thing we see. So worship is the lifting up of the things we value and the things we love and the things we desire. So if our worship is hegemonic, this is what I've been trying to say. If our worship is hegemonic, we've lost the war. We've lost the battle and the war. If people with different abilities or don't have access in your worship, how if your concept of liberation decides which people are worthy of liberation, if your vision of liberation is only for people of your tradition or your ilk, we've already lost.
You're replicating oppressive systems, which explains the evangelical, helps explain, because they are reinforcing the hierarchy, the patriarchy. Women aren't ordained, children are trafficked and attacked. I mean, you know, and then and Leilani is agreeing with you and says that's what they say in church at our religious education. Yeah. I think to your point, one of the ways to model dismantling hegemony is to dismantle it. Is to
yes, or try,
or attempt.
Is this the part where we get to eat the billionaires? Because I'm really hoping that's part of this.
I mean, see, I was about to say something so inappropriate, but okay. But here's the thing. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what eating the billionaires means in a fractal way, congregationally. Stop letting the people with all the money control what your church look like.
Whoa! What is that crazy talk?
If you want to eat the billionaires, start there.
Mm-hmm. Start with not letting the people with the resources who write the biggest checks control
what happens in your congregation.
Whew, you are so controversial and true, because that is where our UU spaces can be the places where we practice that. How do we decolonize our gift giving? How do we decolonize endowments? How do we, one would hope that we could lean into this is where we have those conversations and we practice that because there's no other places to do it.
How are we going to fight extractive capitalism when many of our congregations are extracting resources from the communities they exist in and not putting nothing there?
I mean, 100,000%. I will say, I'm going to say something really, it may or may not surprise anybody. I have no interest in eating the rich at all. I want to spend my energy on building community connections, on caring for the people in my neighborhood, caring for my friends, reaching out and saying, how can I support you? Letting people people know I'm there for them. I want to expend my energy on to building. That's what I want to do. And it's not because, I mean, I don't want to, it's kind of also been part of healing from my divorce. I don't want to expend my energy on how I feel about my ex-husband. I want to expend my energy on healing myself, right?
I get it. So example, I went to, before I was a Unitarian, I belonged to another progressive religious tradition. I was a member of the largest congregation in the tradition, and it was a very Black congregation that claimed Black liberation theology as its ethos. And I was a minister in training, and the pastor of that church in our minister in training class told us out of his own mouth that we would never sign the denominational open and affirming statement because it wouldn't change anything. He has gay friends, he had been doing gay weddings, blah, 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 blah. And the only thing signing that thing would do was make the people with money leave.
If the system is that fragile that it can crumble with that sort of kick, it needs that sort of kick, and it needs to.
And here I'm sitting there with my Black queer self in minister and training class.
Damn,
going,
I am so sorry.
Damn. So my liberation is for sale.
Well, yeah.
You want Black liberation, but your liberation of Blackness, your version of Black liberation don't include me.
Was this minister?
Even though I'm here. Black? Yes, this was a Black congregation.
It also lacks imagination because it only leans into what the loss is, but not what's gained.
Amen. Ashe. Exactly. But that's what people are. So when you say, Aisha, I decided in a world of limited resources, I am going to invest all of this time and money and energy I've spent with all these credentials and gaining skills and capacities. If I look up and the only beneficiaries of my gifts and callings are white people, I have missed the mark. And that's how a lot of my work had been. I was doing great work, but it's like but I need to make sure that my own community is benefiting from my gifts and my callings.
Right.
Because if my communities don't benefit from it, am I even a part of those communities?
Right. Right.
So yeah, and so many, and many of us have been through some versions of this, whether it's women can't preach here, or women can't be in leadership, or whatever. I don't know
that place can handle a trans minister. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's so that it's not like we're not just fighting it out there.
Right.
I think that's what Adrian brings me back to is
yes.
The out there, the call is coming from inside the house, boo. It's inside the house.
That's right.
So you can try to go to space and work on that satellite, or you can figure out who's making the calls in the house and deal with that, because you actually have access. Like, do the work where you have the access. That's what I get from Adrian Marie.
Do the work where you have access. And that takes us full circle to accountability, because that's the only way you can have true accountability.
Yeah.
I think.
I'm tired.
What?
I'm exhausted. Like my brain has just been stretched in so many directions today. Oof.
And we've done our job, DC.
Ouch.
I think that is part of why I don't care about, the whole eat the rich thing, because I'm never going to be able to hold, we are not going to be able to hold billionaires accountable. What we can do is build structures and lean into community so they become irrelevant. That's what we can do. That is absolutely within our power. But I think if we focus, and also it's the same thing we do in this country with the president. We vote for a president every 4 years, and then we don't look at the local elections. I mean, now we do. I think now we're paying a lot more attention.
School board, town council.
School board, right. School board, town council. Now we're understanding, and mind you, the right from what was it, 73, that Roe v. Wade passed, now it's obviously been overturned, but this has been a 50+ year project for them, where they were going to small. Now we're getting it. We on the left who want a kinder society, are now,
really
then they become irrelevant. The more we can lean into the fractal, the health of the cell, they become irrelevant. That's what I lean into.
And I also want us to start thinking about democratizing our concept of accountability, because I have to remind folks, I have people in my life who didn't vote for Harris because of stuff around Palestine, but them same people elected Barack Obama, who was against gay marriage.
And who deported people. And also, we have 2 minutes, so we're going to go down that rabbit hole. Why were they willing to sacrifice any group of people on this planet? Because the same group of people who didn't stand against genocide are not fighting against fascism in the way that'll dismantle it. So it's connected. I voted for Harris, and I didn't do so happily, because why are we sacrificing Palestinians and thinking that somehow it's not connected to what's happening here?
So I voted not unhappily, because what I was clear about is she didn't do nothing that multiple generations of presidents before her. It was a policy that has been already in place. Now, I would have wished her to handle it different. There are things I would have wanted different, but there was no way I was going to let that one thing.
I voted for her. I agree. I did not. I agree.
Because it wasn't apples and apples. We were not comparing apples to apples. We were not. So nuance. We have to get out of this social media quick fix shit. We need to start living in a world of nuance, mystery, experimentation, liminality.
Engagement, talking to each other in a way to seek to understand, not to seek to win. So we have 1 minute left, folks.
Yeah.
Wow.
This was so amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
And
this was intense. Thank you. Wow.
We are planting seeds of liberation. And yeah, if you have not read Emergent Strategy, please do. If you have not read,
Oh, it's amazing.
it's amazing.
It's in my to read pile.
So good. So another show
continues to
next
go.
week. I will not be here. I will be in Texas to take part in Reverend Meg Barnhouse's memorial. And so thank you all. You all will be here. Those of you who aren't going to Texas will be here on The View. So thank you all so much for joining us. We will see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye,
See you next
everybody.
week. Bye, everybody.
All right. Now, so I'm doing tech today. So
So we might be here a minute.
I'm so
and by the way,
intelligent.
Asia Marie Brown has a blog where a lot of her ideas get born first before she publishes.
Oh, excellent. So
Oh.
Google Adrienne Marie Brown's blog. Excellent. Thank you. Bye, everybody. I'm going to now go to this is. Thank you for joining us. Special thanks to everyone who gives generously to this ministry. It is because of you that this ministry is possible.
Visit clfuu.org/give to make a contribution.
We hope you will join us next week for another episode of the Voices of Unitarian Universalism.